Welcome back, accomplices. It's been a crazy week, but we are back and have a packed episode for you guys. We are still tracking that fuckface Chad Daybell's trial, and as promised, we have updates on that. So where should we start?
Well, so far, the state has called a handful of witnesses, all with testimonies.
Toast.
All with testimonies surrounding the events that led up to Chad's arrest. Prosecution allowed a recording of a phone call to be entered into evidence. And that was, I guess, from the day the detectives were searching the Daybell property.
The call is a recording from when Lori was in jail and Chad had not yet been arrested. Lori asks Chad if he is okay, and he responds with, quote, "They're searching the property. We'll see what transpires." Prosecution also brings up evidence in the form of videos of Chad being questioned by police about the bodies, and Chad is laughing while answering.
Of course he is. He's such a piece of shit.
Yes, he is.
Prosecution asked about Tammy Daybell's death and showed a picture of Tammy's body after it was exhumed. Chad, I guess, had just stared at it, but he had no reaction to it. They also talked about how Chad was a former gravedigger, so it didn't make sense that he would bury the kids' remains so shallow and sloppily. But I also have a feeling that they did that because they planned to move them somewhere else or dispose of them even further.
Yeah, that would make sense. They just got caught before they had the time to.
Yeah.
So a financial timeline was established for Chad and looked into his travel history the month prior to him killing his wife. They also found that after the last known alive sighting of Tylee, that her money and her accounts were being accessed through online transactions, which before she would always use her debit card directly or pull cash out. They also found that her Venmo account was being accessed after her death as well.
Court exhibits show that Chad sent a letter to a realtor about a property. And in that letter, he said that he and Lori had no pets or children. At the time that the email was sent, prosecutors highlighted the fact that investigators were still searching for Tylee and JJ. And of course, the defense is still trying to make it seem like everything is Lori's fault, and they just continue to throw her under the bus.
Of course. Court exhibits also showed that within days of Tylee's death, Lori emptied her daughter's account and had previously moved Tylee's Social Security deposits into her own, which was mentioned above. And travel records also showed Lori traveled to Missouri with her niece, and Lori used Tylee's phone to take with her, despite there being no record of Tylee traveling with them. And that was to make it seem as if Tylee was in Missouri.
So they also went a little further with Lori saying that she was also receiving Social Security benefits after Tylee's death on behalf of herself and JJ after the death of her husband, Charles Vallow. A forensic accountant with the FBI testified that Daybell sent money to his children when investigators searched his property for the first time and when the investigation into the missing children was announced. On the day that the bodies of Tylee and JJ were found, Chad Daybell reportedly sent a total of $26,000 to 3 of his children. So I really hope that he gets the death penalty. There's no doubt that he will be found guilty, but I would be so disgusted if he's not.
For sure. He is such a fucking piece of shit. Lori is obviously a piece of fuck too, but to blame it all on her, he obviously knew about it at the very least, so he still fucking deserves to rot.
So that's kind of just what we have for you. For now, the trial is only heading into its third week or in its third week by the time you guys are listening to this. It's projected to be 7 to 10 weeks long. So we'll kind of just keep you updated throughout. Don't necessarily know if we're going to do each episode, but we definitely want to get the big highlighted portions of it for you guys. So, and then of course we'll go on to the sentencing. But I do still have a case to unpack, and you guys will get that pun a little bit later. The case that I'm doing was suggested to us by one of our listeners. So shout out to Bethany S., who reached out to us and suggested that we cover the Sarah Boone case. So that is the one I've decided I'm going to do it. She reached out a while ago, actually. And so thank you, Bethany, for the suggestion. And then just so you guys are aware up front, the case is still like ongoing. And so it was a little bit difficult to find a lot of the information. But I definitely put on my FBI hat.
Same.
I put on my FBI hat and got to it. Sarah Boone was born on October 10th, 1977. Her birthplace is unknown, and so is her childhood and really everything about her besides what she's being charged with. At the time of her arrest, Sarah was living in Winter Park, Florida, so go figure. And it's always Florida. Like
always Florida.
It's always Florida.
Florida is the Hilliard of the United States.
Yes. She is currently being charged with second-degree murder for the death of her boyfriend, Jorge Torres. And while I was like researching this case, I kept calling him George. I was like, oh, it's George Torres. and then I like watched a video clip and it was like Jorge Torres. And I was like, oh, thank God. Thank God I heard that, because otherwise I'd be calling him George Torres this whole time. So let's just jump right in.
Be wrong.
Yeah. So let's just jump right into what happened, or rather what Sarah's truth is versus what really happened. On February 24th, 2020, Jorge Torres Jr. climbed inside a suitcase at the couple's home during an alleged game of drunken hide and seek. In the suitcase is where Torres suffocated to death after his girlfriend, Sarah Boone, zipped him into the case. She then went upstairs and passed out, not realizing that he would not be able to get out on his own. The following day, so February 25th, Sarah called 911 and told them that her boyfriend was dead. So we have what Sarah claims happened to the police. So I kind of just have these bullet pointed here. So Sarah's claims to the police are that her and Torres had a single bottle of wine while painting, and Torres suggested that they play hide and seek. She claims that Torres thought it would be funny to get into a suitcase and that it was his idea. She also claims that as a joke, she said she would zip him up in the case, and they were both laughing about it. And she attributed her lack of recollection to intoxication and claimed that she had gone upstairs and fell asleep in her bed, inadvertently forgetting about Torres, resulting in his unintended death.
How big was the suitcase?
I mean, it was like one of the it was a pretty big suitcase, but he also, I don't think, was a very big guy. He looks like a skinwalker, honestly.
Ooh.
Like the pictures I saw of him, like his eyes look like they're black.
Maybe I would have zipped him up in a suitcase too. Just kidding. Don't come for me.
So Sarah stated that she woke up to the sound of her phone ringing around 11 a.m. the next day. When she didn't see Torres in the apartment, she said she realized he might still be in the suitcase.
Oh shit, did I forget to do that?
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
I knew I was forgetting something.
She told detectives that she unzipped the suitcase to find Torres unresponsive and not breathing, and that's when she called 911. When detectives arrived to find Torres's body laying near the front door of the home next to the blue suitcase, they noticed a small laceration on his lip and what appeared to be bruising around one of his eyes. Sarah was questioned by police, but was not arrested until the following day when she voluntarily went into the police station. On February 26th, 2020, Sarah Boone drove herself to the sheriff's office for a follow-up interview. During the interview, she made contradicting statements. When forensic investigators asked for her phone, she willingly handed it over. That's when the investigators discovered that there were 2 videos that she had taken the night of the incident. However, she did not remember taking the videos, and she also did not try to delete the videos. So the videos are pretty disturbing, and I'm going to play them for you guys. So listen carefully as it captures Jorge Torres inside the suitcase while Sarah can be heard laughing and using coarse language towards him. You'll be able to hear Torres stating that he can't breathe and begging for her to let him out.
Sarah, for everything you've done to me. Sarah. For everything you've done to me. Sarah. You. Sarah. You. Sarah. Stupid. Sarah. That's my name. Don't wear it up. Sarah. I can't. Crazy. Yeah. That's when you do when you choke me. Sarah. 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 Sarah, I can't breathe, babe. That's on you. Sarah, I can't breathe. It's on you. Sarah. Real or ransom. I want to give it for it extra. Because I got this. Sarah. Real or ransom. Sarah. I can't breathe, babe. Oh, that's what I feel like when you ching on me. Sarah. Sarah. Yeah. He's probably shut up. Shh.
So that gives me chills a little bit.
Yeah, literally hearing the guy die.
So as you heard, he's yelling her name and she says, "For everything you've done to me." He's pleading with her saying, "I can't fucking breathe, seriously." And she replies, "Yeah, that's what you do when you choke me." He continues to tell her he can't breathe and she responds, "That's on you. That's what I feel like when you cheat on me." So in one video timestamped at 11:12 p.m., the suitcase is facing downward and you can see Torres is pushing on it from the inside in an attempt to get out. And in the other video timestamped roughly 11 minutes later, you can hear him yelling Sarah's name, and the suitcase the suitcase at that point is in a different position in the room facing upwards. So she was moving him around while he's in the suitcase. So when the investigators confronted her with this evidence, she had stated that she had not fully zipped the suitcase, implying that the incident was an accidental occurrence. Nevertheless, the video evidence was enough to arrest her. During the autopsy, it was discovered that Jorge Torres had sustained various injuries on the night of his death, including injuries to his left shoulder, contusions on his lip and neck, and bruising on his head and skull. When Sarah was questioned about the injuries, she states that Torres fell off of her son's bike and also claimed that he was notorious for running into walls.
He just runs into walls.
She
No
also
big deal.
stated nothing to do with the fact that I'm flinging him around in a fucking suitcase.
He can't see very well. He runs into the walls.
She had also stated that the cuts found on his body were caused by consensual sexual activity. We're going to take a step back here for a second. So remember how I stated that Sarah found Jorge and called the police?
Of course it's not.
Well, that's not entirely true. So before calling the police, she first called her ex-husband. And when he showed up to her apartment, he told her to call the police. And then you also remember that I mentioned the first video that was taken was timestamped at around 11 p.m. And Sarah stated that she had woken up by her phone around 11 a.m. So that's already a 12-hour time difference. And it was found that Sarah didn't actually call the police until 1 p.m. Pretty big jump, if you ask me, but what do I know? I don't know about you, but it sounds to me like she was seeking revenge. She mentioned he had choked her and he cheated on her. Well, court documents detailed a history of domestic violence between the two, and they had both been arrested for battery on each other. Records revealed Sarah was charged in July of 2018 with battery by strangulation. She told investigators she was dragged upstairs by Torres and kicked right in the eye. she was kicked in the right eye after taking a guy
Right
to a
in the
bar.
eye. Wow, right in the kisser.
Kicked right in the eye. Kicked her in her right eye. Roadhouse. So at the time, Torres told investigators that Sarah tried to strangle him and that if he did not kick her off of him, she would have made him incapacitated. In the affidavit, deputies said they weren't able to tell who the primary aggressor was. In 2019, Torres was charged with battery 3 times. His most recent arrest from that year was in September, and Sarah had accused him of punching her in the left ear.
Yeah.
She's like very particular what side of the body he's going at. My right eye and my left ear. Anyways, so according to that affidavit, there was a temporary protection order in place at the time. In January of 2020, so about 1 month prior to the murder, Sarah called 911 and stated that Torres struck her with a curtain rod. In a subsequent interview, she mentioned that Torres had been attending anger management classes, indicating a potential attempt for rehabilitation. In total, Jorge Torres was arrested 4 times for domestic violence, and each time she bailed him out afterwards. What an idiot. Given the reoccurring pattern of domestic violence in the Boone-Torres relationship, it is anticipated that her legal defense would invoke the battered women's defense during the upcoming trial. The battered women's defense is a legal strategy where the defendant claims to have been a victim of prolonged physical, emotional, or psychological abuse, which led them to act in self-defense or commit a crime. But she bailed him out of
Not
jail
a smart move.
all the time. So, but wait, there is more. Since her arrest in February of 2020, Sarah has been court appointed to several attorneys. As of February 15th of this year, so roughly 4 years later, she has been appointed yet another attorney, making them number 8. Each attorney prior requested to withdraw for various reasons, usually because of some kind of irreconcilable difference. She even went as far as to write letters to the judge, and in one of the letters dated 11/3/2022, she writes next to the date, quote, 4 weeks exactly since last letter. The letter is 4 pages long, and of course, I have it here with me. Because this bitch is cray. Okay, so she writes, quote, forgive me in advance for having to utilize your invaluable time to ask the current progress of my case, but after not having any form of communication with my attorney, appointed by you, now after 11 weeks and counting, after sending 4 letters to my attorney, appointed by you, with no response, and after finally finding an outside resource to inform me of the uneventful, confusing filed documents online by my attorney, appointed by you, I'm still waiting with the
in case you
perpetual
forgot, the
question
attorney
mark
was
over my
appointed
head.
by you.
Now remember, this is a letter to the judge.
Appointed by you.
She goes on to say, no letters, no video visits, no face-to-face visits, no answered phone calls from my attorney, or even a response from you, Your Honor, regarding one of my letters expressing my legitimate concern of what's going on in my case. And where's my attorney? It has now been over 4 months since being appointed another attorney, number 6, and not by my decision, influence, or choice, and almost 3 of the 4 months not hearing from said attorney, 8/22/2022, last correspondence. Why? What is the reason? Why haven't I received a letter, even a 15-minute video update, anything, even after my PTC, which is a pretrial court date, on 10/25? It truly confuses me and nonetheless upsets me. The fact I was not in attendance so I could know what's going on in my case especially considering I have not heard from my attorney in 11 weeks and should have been included. Why was I not? This is my case. Was Mr. Bankowitz even there to represent me? I don't know. Anything. Still, she also writes, quote, "The problem is that my constitutional rights are incorrectly being waived without my knowledge or permission. I have never signed anything nor verbalized the idea. I wish to waive any of my appearances to any of my court dates. I want to be present for all dates going forward, please, regardless of significance. All are significant to me, since my attorney fails to relay any information in any way. If he's not going to, then I must trust myself and for myself, as always, my entire life." She then goes on to ask, what else can I do? Who else can I seek help from? She says, I have you and God, Judge Wooten. If I don't have an attorney, or if I do have an attorney, where is he? There's so much to do all over my case, hopefully the right way this time. Off to a rocky start, where I wonder how much more extended my time will be on top of the almost soon to be 36 months or 3 years already. Is this how the justice system really works? Am I being penalized for wanting to be fully involved in everything in my case and intelligent enough to know the way my case is being handled is unjust from my point of view and is disastrous considering I'm still here sitting in Orange County Jail counting the days and praying my sixth attorney contacts me and we can move forward, finally coming to an end of this seemingly endless debacle? I mean, no, you're actually being penalized for fucking killing somebody, but okay. She also states, you would think considering the circus show my entire case is being made out to be, with all the hype, sensationalism, and publicity, I received a letter all the way from across the pond in England the other day. It would be handled more professionally. I learn something new every day about facts, events, and outcomes in my case from all of the inmates and officers as well. I wonder if they might know where my attorney is. Bottom line, please understand, I don't want to be here any longer. I don't want to be hindered any longer in getting just to the starting line again. I don't want to be suppressed for being heard, finally, truthfully, and correctly. So, when, Judge Wooten, when will I hear from my attorney? Or you, please, just with some type of response other than a copy of my letter I keep sending, which I already have.
I like because she's like, I don't want to be here any longer. Well, maybe you shouldn't have fucking killed your boyfriend then, dumb bitch. Yeah, you're gonna be in jail, moron.
She feels like she's in a position to be making these demands, too.
I don't want to be here anymore. Because you were the only person ever to be in jail who has not wanted to be there.
She continues on with, in the meantime, it is my understanding the following documents have been filed in my case since the appointment of with Frank Bakowitz, my attorney, MIA, missing in action. So all of these dates that I'm going to read off are from 2022. So July 11th, Bankowitz was appointed as Sarah's attorney. July 12th, the PTC order pretrial was set for 10/25, and her trial was set for 11/7. On 8/29, the pretrial was canceled. On 8/23, the notice of unavailability, and then she, in the letter, had brackets said state, so I assume that the state had sent something in. 10/27, correspondence, and then in brackets she had my letter to Bankowitz. 10/12, correspondence to defendant, and then copy of my letter. 10/24, notice of appearance, she said, for what had 3 years ago. Also on 10/24, there was a not guilty plea, which she said was already filed. Waiver of appearance, never signed or agreed to. Compensation, she says, for what's been done. On 10/25, substituting conflict counsel. And then she said, who is my attorney? 1025 PTC or pretrial set for January 17th, 2023. And the trial was set for January 30th, 2023. And then she goes on to say, that's it. In the almost 4 months I've been a client of Mr. Benkowitz, this is the only progress. What's next? She finishes the letter with, quote, as always, I thank you for your time and understanding. Please help however you are able. I am not helpless. I am ready to get this show on the road and to hear from someone other than myself asking the same question over and over and over. What's going to happen to my case, or how many more pens will I exhaust asking? Grateful and patiently waiting. I await your response. Sincerely, Sarah Boone. Well, Sarah, I have some good news for you. After 4 years of patiently waiting, your trial is finally set to start on May 13th, 2024. So just a few more weeks. And for those of you listening, we will have updates for you as we get them.
I like how in the last part of the letter she goes, I am not helpless. Well, according to your letter, it kind of sounds like you are.
No shit. Doing this case, researching it and stuff, like when I saw that letter, I was like, oh my God. Because like I said, like there really wasn't a lot. I tried finding, like every time I would look up Sarah Boone, like I would get like the 19th century, like inventor. Like she was a dressmaker. Apparently she was like super like revolutionary. But yeah, so it was difficult because I just kept like finding like all of this information about like this old dressmaker. So I couldn't even like go in to see like if like she had any like mental health illnesses or anything. Like what I presented was everything I could find for her.
Yeah, I'm sure it'd be a little bit more difficult too, since there hasn't even been like a trial yet or anything. So everything I'm assuming is still pretty closed on it.
We'll definitely get those updates. We'll be busy bees for you guys. Chad Daybell's trial. We'll have Sarah Boone's trial updates. I don't really foresee that one being too long. Like the evidence is kind of just like stacked.
Yeah, especially because she claims that, oh, I didn't even remember him until I woke up in the morning. But then she has a video literally like taunting him as he's in the suitcase. Saying, this is what you get.
This is what it feels like when you choke me. And then she's just like telling him, you should shut the fuck up. Like, yeah, you should shut the fuck up. I'm like, oh, bitch, what?
Yeah, that was very interesting.
But yeah, that was my case. It was a good one. Thanks,
I know
Bethany.
of anybody else who's been locked in a suitcase to die.
And how, like, you know how, like, when people, like, tell you, like, oh,
pack
hey,
me in your suitcase.
Like, I'm going to, like, on vacation. And you're like, oh, where are you going? And it's, like, somewhere cool or, like, whatever. And you're like, oh, just put me, pack me in your suitcase. Apparently don't do that. Don't pack people in suitcases.
Well, that's all we have for you this week. Thank you so much for listening.
As always, we want to hear from you, so hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, or by emailing us at thickthighsmurdervibes@gmail.com.
Bye!
And don't forget to come back next week for more true crime and inappropriate giggling. Oh, fuck.